Measure my document, and when I measured it across, I'm about 17 long, okay? So that's important information, and I'll show you where we're going to use that 17-inch measurement. I've got the beading on the outside, decorative edge. I've got the rabbet joint, and so I need a 45 right here for one of my corners. So I'm going to set here. I've got my slider miter here. It's set at 45 degrees. I'm going to slide this back, so I'm just cutting off the very end, and I'm going to go ahead and make a cut. The beading is up against the fence. This is down. So I've got my front face looking at me right here. Okay? And I need to plug that saw in quickly. And here I go. Okay? All right. Document was 17 inches. So what I'm going to do, Katrin is holding that right at 1 inch, so I'm going to burn 1 inch. So he's holding it at 1 inch. I'm going to give myself a little bit of room, so I'm going to mark it at 18 and 1/16. The reason, I'm burning an inch here, okay? So I've got to be an inch long here plus a 16th. Once I've got that, I need to have a 45 come through that spot, okay? So I've got to have a 45 come through that spot right there. Okay, let's go right here, just like that. Okay, so 45 through that spot right there, that becomes my line. This is really, really critical to make sure you have the right length. I measure from here to here is 17 inches, then my 45, so I have a long to long. Okay, so that's what I'm going to cut next. Here's my mark. I'll bring it down, still at 45, make sure my saw blade is on the correct side of the line. I'll cut that off. This angle, since I've cut that first piece off, this angle is angling the wrong direction. So I must flip it over and get my angle going in the right direction again. I'm still at 45. And now my angle is going in the correct direction. I've got my angle in the right direction. I'm just going to lay this piece on top of this piece. I can make sure it's square. Like that. It's flush down here. I'm going to simply make a mark. Okay? And I'm going to come back over here on the saw. I'm going to make that cut. Flip it to the other side. 45 going the other way. Lock it down. Bring it here, make sure the saw blade is on the correct side. And I've got the two sides for my picture frame made, just like that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut that angle right there. And unfortunately, that's all I have left. So now let me just lay this out. I've got one more piece to make, and here's what I've got so far. Bang, bang, bang. So my picture frame is all together, except I've got one more piece to cut right there. So I'm going to cut that piece and I'll get back. Four sides cut. I've got beading on the outside. On the inside I've got a spot for holding my picture. Okay, and just checking it out here and see how it's going to work. Okay. Now normally what you can do is that you can hold this together, and there's sometimes biscuits that go in here. Now I'm not going to put in biscuits here. Normally you could do that, but the biscuits just simply help you hold a little bit more holding power. What we're going to do is on the top and the bottom, after it's glued together, we're going to run a screw. You won't ever be able to see it, probably ever. And so that's how we're going to hold it together. So our next step is simply to glue it together. Okay, come on in here just a little bit. Now on my picture frame here, take a look at some of these marks and zoom in on this if you want to. I've had a couple of students take a hammer and they're chipped around here. And what I'm trying to do is make this look antique. We're putting a really old document in here from almost over 50 years old, 60 years old. And so we want it to almost 100 years old.
1970?
Yeah, almost 100 years old. So I want this frame to look old also, okay? All right, so what I'm gonna do next though, I want to talk a little bit about this picture framing clamp. It's a neat little jig, and these are all 90 degrees on every corner, and it's just a band. And so when you place it around here, you can slide these blocks through these different corners, pull this band tight, lock it down, and then screw this here tight. And so now it's loose right now so that I can get each part of the picture frame out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull each part of the picture frame out, and I'm going to put a little glue here. And as I already discussed, I'm going to use screws as dowels when I get all done. So I'm not necessarily going to put biscuits. Sometimes they put biscuits in here. But this is quite a bit of surface area. The big thing about a picture frame is you simply don't have enough surface area to glue it down. But here I've got quite a bit of surface area. So let me go ahead and glue all these corners up, and then I'll get back to you. So when we get done here, we want to take a sloppy wet rag. Again, we've got a lot of surface area on this frame, so I will see how it goes. But we're going to wipe that off here, and then take a dry rag and turn it over. Do the same thing on the back side, and wipe all the excess glue off as we can. Okay. Now I know I've got glue, and I see also right here I've got a frame here that's not quite perfect right here, so I'm going to try to readjust this and move this band slightly over, just like that. That's all it took right there. Whoops, that come off here. That wasn't good. I can readjust right there. There we go. That one actually it went in there pretty darn good. So what I've got then, when I get all done then, and I've got a picture frame, and I go ahead and I can cross measure just to double check. Pretty close to 3/8. All right, so we're pretty darn good. We're pretty square, and this thing should take it almost exactly right. So I've got a framework that I can go here, and I can stand it up and put it in the corner and wait it to dry, clean off your bench, and we'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish this thing out.